Shalom. This week we are reading Parshat Perkudei, the concluding Torah portion of Sefer SHMOT, the book of Exodus. And Perkudei literally means reckonings. The first verse begins, these are the reckonings of the tabernacle of testimony. And you know, there's nothing really new that's added in the entire Parshat Perkudei. We've been learning about the Mishkan, the Tabernacle, for some time now. Several Torah portions. First, God gave over all of the commandments to Moshe and all of the details. And then, of course, last week in Parshat Vayakel, we learned that Moshe assembled the entire people of Israel and told over to them everything that had to be done. They responded immediately, very positively. They went, they got everything together, and the craftsmen and the artisans were appointed. The work began. And now, essentially, it seems that in Parshat Perkudei, that's exactly what we're presented with. Reckonings, receipts. It's like proof of purchase. Everything that had to be brought forth was indeed used, found its proper place. All of the details were incorporated. And we have here a long listing of tremendous detail. Everything that went into the tabernacle as God commanded Moshe. That's an expression which is repeated in this Parsha many times. As God commanded Moshe. So we have here essentially a listing of all the details, but nothing really new is added. So you know, a lot of people, they ask, you want to build the temple, and you have a commandment to build the temple. We read earlier in Parshat Truma, Exodus 25:8, Va'asuli migdash v'shachanti betocham, and they shall make for me a sanctuary, and I will dwell amongst them. And of course, that was originally fulfilled through the Mishkan, the Tabernacle. And later, after it was established that Mount Moriah is the place for all time, the eternal resting place for the Shekhinah, so then the temple would be built from that time on Mount Moriah. But a lot of people ask the question, wait a minute, if we have some sort of obstacle, temporary of course, and we can't build the temple on Mount Moriah, I have a great idea, they say. Why don't we begin the process, bring about the redemption, restore honor to the Shekhinah, the divine presence, by rebuilding the tabernacle first somewhere else? I got news for you. We can't do that. It is essentially ancient history, the tabernacle that is, because once David and Samuel established through their prophetic revelation that the place that Hashem chose, there's another expression that appears so many times in the Torah, a form of that expression, the place that I will choose, the place that I'll show you, that's Mount Moriah in Jerusalem. So the reality changed then, the halachic reality. That's where the temple goes. The tabernacle is no longer going to be built. So this is really not something that is going to recur in Jewish history. But then we have a very pressing question. I have a very big problem. Because if we believe that the Torah is eternal, it is absolutely the manifest will of Hashem in this world, and every word is perfect, and every word is exacting. We have to learn life-changing, eternal lessons from every word. Then, according to that which I just stated, why do we have all of this repetition? Why so much attention directed to the tabernacle? It was great for that generation. It was very necessary. I enjoyed it. So we learned all of this. And now again, another Torah portion, the last Torah portion of Sefer SHMOT, of the book of Exodus, Parshat Perkudei, tells us about the final execution, the completion, the erection of the tabernacle. But we're not going to be doing this again, and it is ancient history. So why do we have this for thousands of years, and we're going over it week after week? Why the attention to this detail about something that I really can't get all that much practical application from again? True, some will interpolate the verses to levels of all sorts of symbolism and all sorts of meaning, deriving ethical principles and beautiful morals and all sorts of homilies from the ingredients of the tabernacle, etc. And that's all fine, and that all works on one level. But again, the Torah is about action, and it's about building. And we can't just take a subject in the Torah that occupies so much space and say that all that there is left to it is some beautiful symbolism. So what does the tabernacle have to tell us now? Well, on one level, of course, there's a very beautiful idea here. And it speaks very specifically to our generation, because in our generation, there are those that are very, very adamant that the time has come to rebuild the temple. There are those that are calling for the rebuilding of the temple today. And according to that whole school of thought, there's nothing to wait for. We have the commandments, we have the ability, we have the technology, we know that it's God's will, so why don't we rebuild the temple? And then there are voices, Jewish voices, that say, no, the time has not yet come. Who are we to build the tabernacle? We don't know how to do it. It's totally beyond us. It's totally something from another world. We have no idea what this means. We have to wait for some further instruction. So comes along this Torah portion, Parshat Perkudei, and it tells us in the most beautiful way something absolutely astounding. It tells us that once upon a time, we actually did this as a people, that we were so united, that we were so focused, that we were so connected, that the men and the women came together and brought forth from their own possessions everything that was necessary, and that they were forthcoming, and that they were wise of heart and generous of heart, and that they actually built this dwelling place for God, for Him, for His sake, for His name's sake, for His honor. So the first thing that these parshiot, and specifically the Torah portion of Perkudei, really serve to tell me is that we have here a living testimony, a witnessing, an accounting, indeed a reckoning, like Perkudei, to the Jewish people, first and foremost, reminding us, telling us, showing us that we are capable of doing this. We did it once. And then we built the temple, so we did it twice, and then we did it a third time. So we know how to build. We know it's not beyond us. And the Torah is essentially crying out to us throughout all of these successive generations, yes, we can. Yes, we can. We know exactly how to do it. We've done it before, and we can do it again. So that's, I think, one very simple level of why the repetition, of what these verses have for us today. Not just as a reminder, but as a beckoning, as an awakening, as a challenge, reminding us that this is something that we do indeed know how to do. So we'll have to come up with a different excuse. But you know what? There's even a deeper reason for all of the detail, all of the reckonings of Parshat Perkudei. Nothing new seems to be added. We're going over the same information again, the same details. And we're studying and learning that this is how it was done, in this order. And then we have an expression that repeats itself so many times in this Torah portion. 18 times? We have the expression, Ka'asher tziva Hashem et Moshe. That everything was done and moved into place and established exactly as Hashem commanded Moshe. Is that a praise to the Jewish people? Is that telling us something new, that this was done exactly as Hashem commanded? I mean, would we have expected it any differently if God commanded Moshe? So of course we could expect that that's how it was done. But no, we're told over and over again, and every single one of these details that we know on that level, indeed, all the details of the Mishkan correspond to supernal levels. Everything going on in the Tabernacle does correspond to some heavenly sphere. Some great cosmic rectification is enacted through the service in the Tabernacle, and each detail, as Hashem commanded Moshe, that's exactly how it was done. And there's something else going on here on a very deep level. We read when the Tabernacle is all ready. So we read just at the conclusion of chapter 39, like everything that Hashem commanded Moshe, so did the children of Israel perform all the labor. Moshe saw the entire work, and behold, they have done it as Hashem had commanded, so had they done, and Moshe blessed them. This verse is staggering, in its implication, because it reminds us so clearly of a previous verse, of a previous sequence, and the cadence of this verse and the elements that it includes is so reminiscent of something that we read in Sefer Breshit. At the conclusion of the act of creation, we read at the end of chapter 1 of Genesis, "And God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good." And so we continue there with the next paragraph, which of course is part of the Kiddush on Shabbat. We know that God blessed creation. The tabernacle, all of its components, all of its elements, and everything that goes on there is a parallel to the entire act of creation. And the beautiful idea here is that God left creation unfinished. This is a major theme of the Torah, a major theme of the Jewish experience, that God left creation unfinished and gave over to man the keys to the completion of creation. And so, how is that creation completed? How are we made into partners in the creation of heaven and earth? To the extent that the tabernacle is like not a parallel universe, but a microcosm of the universe, and a perfection, a completion of the universe, so that when it was completed, Moshe, who had done everything that Hashem had commanded, could look at it and see that and behold, it was very good, like Hashem said about his own creation, but behold, it was done as Hashem commanded, and he blessed them. Because the whole beauty, the whole idea, the whole experience that we have the opportunity to partake of in this ongoing relationship of the completion of the universe is letting a place in this world, is allowing for Hashem to be in this world, is creating a place for him. Mishkan, the expression Mishkan, the word Mishkan comes from Shchon. It's the same roots as the word Shechina, the divine presence. Through the tabernacle, we welcome God into this world. We make a place for him in this world. The tabernacle becomes the holy temple. Throughout history, the tabernacle as an idea, as a command, morphs into the permanent structure of the holy temple. But the lesson learned from Parshat Perkudei is first and foremost that the Jewish people have done it and can do it and will do it again. And secondly, to understand the significance of the tabernacle is to understand the true relationship between Israel and the Holy One, blessed be He, that we are called upon to bring the light of the divine presence into this world, to welcome Him into this world, to show our willingness to let God be a part of the world. And that's really why all of these details are repeated. And that's the secret of Parshat Perkudei, that through the tabernacle, we have the opportunity to complete creation by building a place for God in this world.